Hello and welcome to Season 2 of the Life at Leyton podcast with me, Sarah Glanville, as your host. Here at Leyton UK, we know our people are more than just their job. The careers of our people are part of their unique lives, and who they are as a whole person is what fundamentally contributes to their success and the success of our business. In the podcast, we'll spend time with one of our exceptional people from across the business. And in each episode, we'll look to explore the people behind the job titles, the unique and brilliant stories that make them who they are. To kick off Season 2, we welcome Kevin Caie to the podcast. Kevin is a business development manager in our Edinburgh office, and he has spent the last few months in preparation for one of the most grueling physical challenges anyone could think to take on, the Ironman in Hamburg this coming June. I'll let Kevin tell you his story, but this is no ordinary race, and his drive to push himself to the extreme is all in aid of raising money for a very worthwhile charitable cause. If you want a little motivation to push yourself out your comfort zone today, Kevin has got you covered. Well done, and best of luck, Kevin. We're all very proud of you taking on this mammoth journey and choosing to create positivity in the face of personal loss. And thank you all for tuning in. Grab yourself a coffee and get ready to be inspired by the people that are Leyton UK. Hello Kevin, welcome to the Life at Leyton podcast. Thank you for sitting down to talk to me and kick off our second season. How are you today?
Hi Sarah, good, yeah, tracking well through the week. It's Thursday now, so there's no complaints on my end. How are you getting on?
Yeah, I'm good. Have you got your eyes set on the weekends?
Pretty much, yeah. Obviously, it's freezing cold, so there's not much to do outside at the moment, but still.
So we are here today to talk about your up-and-coming Ironman in Hamburg. Do you want to start us off today by telling us what inspired you to take on the challenge of an Ironman and how the idea to do it for charity came about?
Yeah, of course. So obviously, fitness has always been a kind of staple of my my life in terms of keeping myself fit in the gym and doing a bit of weightlifting through sports from a young age. I'd always wanted to set myself like a kind of serious challenge, and I say serious when I say that I mean something that's above and beyond the norm. But I'd never really had an idea of how to do that or what kind of situation would lead to doing that. Unfortunately, middle of last year, a close friend of mine that I was friends with throughout university and most of my adult life had got involved in an incident and sadly passed away, which was a really tough time, obviously, for myself. After he'd passed away, we found out that obviously in England you need to sign up to be an organ donor, which he'd actually done, and his organs had gone on to save the lives of 4 individuals. I'd kind of sat on that and mulled it over for a while. And then that kind of desire to do something big and also wanting to do something positive off the back of such a kind of horrible experience channeled into wanting to do an Ironman to raise money for that. Obviously, there hadn't really been an opportunity to do something as big as that before that gave me kind of the drive. And I found that from obviously that experience.
Yeah, I mean, I think taking on the challenge of an Ironman, like drive is what you need, because it's, I don't know if you want to explain to the listeners what an Ironman involves.
Yeah, of course. So I had absolutely no clue at the start as well, to be honest, for anyone that is listening and doesn't have a clue. So it's a 2.4 mile swim followed by 112 miles on the bike and a marathon to finish. So for myself, I could lift a decent bit of weight in the gym, but in terms of endurance sports, I had absolutely no experience when I'd signed up.
I think any one part of that journey is a huge undertaking, but to do it together is just incredible and an amazing achievement. And I think that it's amazing to see you've turned a negative experience into something positive for yourself and for charity. So as we've discussed, like an Ironman is no joke, but I'd be really keen for you to share some insights into your training routine and kind of the physical and mental preparations that you've had to undertake to prepare yourself for the race.
Yeah, I mean, initially the mental position of it was like, I'm just going to do it. I'm just going to sign up. I just kind of came home. It was actually in the office one day. I was speaking to the boys in the office about it, and they're like, "You're mad," like blah blah blah. But usually when people tell me not to do something, it's it almost inspires me to want to do it more. So booking it was the first kind of obstacle. Once I had it booked, it was accepting that this was going to get done. I reached out to a local coach in the Edinburgh area who kind of spoke me through what's going to need to be done. I couldn't really turn back at that point, but he talked me through it. And from there, it's been onboarding the 3 individual aspects of training across, my work and week and trying to balance a social life. So that started pretty light with some testing and getting base levels, which weren't great, to be honest. But what's over the kind of after the Christmas period coming back, for example, things have really heated up. So a day in the life would be kind of, up in the AM to get into the pool, getting through my usual working day, which is the highlight, obviously, and then getting into a night session throughout the week. And then the weekends are spent with kind of longer based runs and cycles, which is it's been rewarding, actually, is the word I'd use.
I'm really glad that you're enjoying the process, because
I say that now, by the way.
Not at the start.
I say it now. I'm saying, see down the line when it gets even more intense, come back to me then and see if I'm still enjoying it as much.
Yeah, I mean, it's a complete shift in your training style. And regardless of, you said you've always been quite passionate about, keeping active and keeping fit, but it's a completely different sort of training altogether. And putting myself into that mindset, like it's great that you're getting something from it, because I know that you get quite tied to the way that you like to train, and you get something from it that way, but to completely change it. So when we say that you didn't, your baseline levels weren't great to start with, do you want to give people an understanding of kind of where you started and how long the journey is before you're actually going to run your race? Like, what does that ramp up look like?
At this point, so obviously at the start, it was trying to get that base level so my coach could understand where I was at. Right now, I'm probably kind of building up distances and starting to do brick training, which is implementing one movement into another. To be honest, there's a learning curve for me as well, because I don't have much idea, to be honest, what the next couple months are going to look like, and I'm not going to ask, because I think it's better just to kind of get the plan through and just get it done. There's no point in dreading it or looking forward to it. It's going to need to get done either way. But I will say, so far in the experience, the one thing that I've taken from it is, obviously, it's a bit of a cliche, but you do grow when you're out your comfort zone, and I put myself out of my comfort zone booking this, and since then it's been really positive. So it's inspired me to kind of take that step if you need to. So
how long has the journey been? So when you first spoke to that coach, and then how long until your Ironman? Like, how many months?
So we're talking like September time was the time when I'd kind of like made the plan to do it. So say October, like from October we started training, and then the race is at the start of June. But I would guess that the kind of May time leading up to the race won't be a time of much training. It'll be keeping myself, safe and reasonably, ready. So you're probably talking like, I don't know, 7-8 months of training.
And when you spoke to your coach, is that like a normal time for someone to take a journey from almost like not much endurance at all to being able to run an Ironman?
I actually asked this question on the phone when I was looking to try and find someone to help me with this journey. And he said the first answer he gave me was that there is no normal, because anyone that does these Ironmen are not normal people, because it's obviously crazy as it is. But I mean, he just said it's possible if you've got the motive that you do and whatnot. It is, you get out what you put in. Again, it's another cliche saying, but like, it's the truth. It is. There's probably no set time. I'd say 8 months from nothing to race is probably quite tight. Well, I'd like to think so anyway, because it's tough. But yeah, I think that time frame is probably it's a sharp one.
Yeah, it's incredibly impressive, and I think a lot of it will just be down to you driving it and you committing to the process, because there's probably a lot of points in time where it would be easier to give up, but you're committed to it, so it says a lot for your character.
Completely.
Do you want to tell us more about the charity that you've chosen? What motivated you to support this particular cause, and how can the listeners contribute or get involved?
Yeah, I mean, as I touched on the charities, the NHS Blood and Transplant charity, because obviously through that time of grief for everyone that knew Matthew, it was a really dark time, and some light that came out of that at the end was that he'd obviously saved like the lives of younger individuals, older individuals, and through being an organ donor. Now, the NHS Blood and Transplant Charity, you never know when you're going to need an organ. You can't forecast anything like that. You never know when a loved one's going to need one. So I think it's a great organisation to back. In terms of the link for donating, I've got my own personal link, which is on my kind of social media and my LinkedIn. But happy to distribute that obviously internally. A lot of people are saying to me, well, we'll wait till you've actually done, a bit more work, or even post race, which I think is completely fair because nothing's actually been done yet. But yeah, I'll definitely get something distributed so that people can have a read and potentially donate.
Yeah, so obviously, hopefully our colleagues who listen to this will back you. And I think that the effort that you're putting in over, the race is one thing, but this is a long journey, and the journey is probably really grueling, and it's a grueling 8-month journey or 6-month journey for you before you actually hit race day. So I think that in itself would deserve a little bit backing from our peers, but we also share our podcast with our external talent community and candidates that would consider life at Leyton. So I'm hopeful that maybe a few of them would like to support you as well.
Yeah.
I don't know about you, but I think this would be a great opportunity as well to say if you've ever thought about being an organ donor to get signed up to the register.
Yeah, it's a good question. Now, I might be wrong here, so don't quote me on this, but I believe that in Scotland you're actually automatically an organ donor. Yeah. Which if I wasn't, I would now have obviously signed up. I mean, you don't really think you never really think about these things until they happen. It's one of those things, but completely. I mean, look at the impact that you can have on someone else's life. It's mad. And as I said, you never know who or when, do you know what I mean, is going to need that help. That's why I think it's such a good charity to be backing.
100%. And I think it's often people maybe would have wanted to support that cause, but they never got round to signing up or something. And even from you mentioned that it supported you and Matthew's family and friends through the grief, is that there's something positive that's come out of the back of it. So if it's something anyone's ever thought about, I would definitely encourage them to get signed up if they're not already part of the 100%. Register in Scotland. So how has Leyton UK and the businesses in your network been involved or supportive of your Ironman journey?
So when I was brainstorming the fundraising, I wanted to find a way to kind of get the fundraising off the ground, and the kind of entrepreneurial idea I had was to offer companies and local business owners the opportunity to sponsor the tri-suit and have their branding on it for the race, and any photos or anything after obviously being situated on it. I got a good response. I've got it ranges from my local barber who's backing me, the gentleman who owns the local Indians backing me, right up to kind of CEOs that I know from home, which has been brilliant. So we're hopefully going to get the kit made at the end of this month, which I'm happy to obviously share photos of. But I'm really thankful for those companies because they're what really lifting the bulk of the fundraising up. Leyton, on the other hand, have actually offered, which is brilliant, to purchase and design the tri-suit, which is really, really good. I'm really happy about that. So that will involve the kind of primary sponsor obviously being Leyton, and the NHS Blood and Transplant Charity, and then all of the other companies being kind of subsequently down the arms and the legs of it. So I think I'm quite excited to see what the kit will look like when it comes out.
Yeah, I mean, it sounds awesome. I think you'd mentioned to me before it was kind of like similar to our Leyton sailing team style, which is pretty cool.
Yeah, that was the idea I'd had. A nice colour scheme and get the sponsors similarly located.
Yeah, that's fantastic. So embarking on an Ironman is obviously a significant personal undertaking. How have you felt this journey's impacted you on a personal level, and what lessons have you experienced along the way?
Well, I mentioned that kind of like stepping out of your comfort zone, and I think that really is where growth does happen in a lot of aspects of life. So the main thing would be that already I now understand that I'm capable of a lot more than I thought I was. That's on a physical and a mental level. The physicality of it, I'm reaching grounds and distances that I wouldn't have dreamt of doing before, which is brilliant. But I think in terms of the main thing is it's that mental resilience. Working in it kind of it reinforces the fact I'm in the right job as well, because it shows I do have that resilience. And I think a lot of people probably doubt their own resilience. But as I said, until you put yourself in a situation where you can really kind of meet that, that block, you don't know. So in terms of lessons about myself, it's just kind of inspiring me to do more, because when you push yourself, you really probably will get there. And what's the worst that's going to happen? You're probably going to fail, try again, and do it anyway. Do you know what I mean? So
I love that. And yeah, I completely agree with you. You're taking on an extreme sport, like it's in probably one of the most extreme sports that you can do. And if anyone who competes in extreme sport or takes part in extreme sport, I think you learn very quickly that the mental side of it is actually is a huge part of the game. Like, your body will do what your mind tells it to. So it's just learning that if you commit to yourself that you're going to do something, keeping up that commitment and the discipline that you need to be able to do that, it'll push you forward. And as you say, like, I love that you've kind of walked away with this and been able to transfer that into other areas of your life, like your career, and say, you know what, I am doing the right role because I am resilient and I'm have the ability to persevere. I think it's fantastic. So what would your advice be for someone that is thinking about challenging themselves to something completely out of their comfort zone?
Yeah, it's honestly just give it a go. Do you know what I mean? Like, whether it's someone listening to this podcast who's considering getting a job at Leyton, doesn't know if they're resilient enough for it, whether it's someone wanting to run a marathon for a specific cause, or whether it's someone that just wants to get up and go to the gym, for whatever reason they're struggling. I think, to be honest, it's just really doing it. It's such a cliche, but like, the truth is the truth. You just have to get up, you have to give it a go. And like, the first time I got in the swimming pool for this Ironman training, I genuinely done 3 lengths. I went up with my flatmate, we got in the pool, and I was like, right, let's do this. Considering the total lengths are like hundreds, I got in the pool, I was like, right, let's give this a bash. And like, after 3 lengths, I looked at him and I was like, mate, I'm just not cut out for this. So I'd say just get out, just do it. If something's not for you, it's not for you, but there's literally no harm in it. There's no harm in giving it a go anyway. Yeah.
And you're always going to be the very worst at something the first time you try it, so it's trying it and building from there. Perfect.
Completely.
Last question actually I have for you before we kind of wrap up. So do you have a funding target or an idea in your mind what you're going to raise, what you like to raise?
Yeah, so I'd set the initial funding target at about £2,000, at £2,000. So we've actually exceeded the target, and I'm up at about £2,800 at the moment. I've got no limit on where I want. I'm not going to. I'd like to hit about $4,000 now that I'm at 2.5, but I'd like to hit $4,000. I think that's a really generous amount of money to bring from the work I've put in. So yeah, that'd be a good amount to hit.
I think you're going to smash it.
I hope so. I really hope. That's the goal. Yeah.
That's amazing. And that's going to be such an impactful amount of money to be able to donate to your charities.
It's not just the money. I think the main thing for me is, the money will go a long way, but it's the inspiring other people to do things for the charity of their choice as well. Because, if one other person ends up doing a fundraiser for the NHS Blood and Transplant Charity, and that leads on and on and on, the fundraising will keep coming. So although the figure looks like a nice prize amount of money, it's just kind of raising that awareness as well. So make sure people keep doing it.
100%. And look, if we inspire one person down south to get signed up to the register and they save lives, like that's incredible as well.
Completely, yeah.
Okay, amazing. Thank you so much for joining me. Is there anything else that you wanted to shout about before we end the podcast?
Nah, not really. Just whatever it is that springs throughout. If you've been listening to this podcast, there's probably been something that sprung to mind that you've been wanting to do that you haven't done. So let this be the opportunity for you to just get up and go do it, is what I'd say.
Yeah. I'm pretty sure there's people feeling pretty inspired. Maybe I'll go try and run.
Maybe we'll see.
Yeah, no, that's incredible, and you should be really proud of yourself, Kevin. Honestly, this is an exceptional challenge to set yourself, and for all the reasons that we've already said, like, I think you're making a huge difference, and again, turning a terrible tragedy, what's happened with Matthew, into something incredibly positive. That's so meaningful. So well done.
Let's get the job done.
Let's do it. So thank you again, Kevin. Really amazing chat. I've really enjoyed this. And thank you to everyone for listening along at home. I hope that you all got something from this conversation. I know I did. We're going to be back in a few weeks' time with our next episode. But until then, if you're one of the members in our talent community and you are interested in finding out more about what the future might look like at Leyton UK, please do reach out to one of us here in the talent acquisition team. I'll put my contact details in the description below, or check out our careers page for the roles that we have live currently. We'll be back in a few weeks. Thank you again, Kevin, for sharing your story, and thank you all for listening in. This has been the Life at Leyton podcast.